Hello all, welcome back to our second episode of Basically Baking. This week we are making brownies for one of my favorite people in the world's luncheon. She's about to go on her mission and I cannot wait to see her off, but at the same time, it hurts. But we're gonna get into it today. We are gonna start with making the dry ingredients and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're doing things a little different this week with the angles I'm gonna show you guys because I want you to see what I am doing in here. So I am doubling this recipe. So I'm gonna start out with 8 eggs. If you were not doubling this recipe, you would be doing, obviously, 4 eggs. I still recommend breaking them on the counter over the edge of the bowl to help with the shell. This is not in the instructions, but I prefer to do this. I'm gonna beat my eggs just a little bit before I add everything else. So I'm gonna grab my hand mixer here. Just mix them gently. All right, and that's what I mean by beating gently. You don't need to have all the white gone or having all the yolk mixed in. Just do it as best as you can. We are now gonna add our cocoa powder. Since I'm doubling, I'm adding 2.5 cups. If you're not, you're adding 1 1/4 cup. So there's my half. There's one, get one more. There is your 2.5 cups. You are now gonna add a teaspoon salt. That's it. You are gonna need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And this is also baking powder, not baking soda. There is a difference between the two. So don't try to substitute one for the other. So this recipe requires coffee. I do not drink coffee, so I use Pero instead. My dad gave me the idea, which honestly was genius. So you're gonna add 2 teaspoons of Pero powder. Okay, there we go. And this helps bring out the chocolate flavor that people expect in brownies. All right, I'm gonna add a little more salt to it just to be safe, because you never know. And now we need 2 tablespoons of vanilla. I just use this one. You can use whatever vanilla you would like though. It is totally up to you. All right, we are now going to mix again. We want to make sure it's all combined this time. All right, that should be good. If you're not using a hand mixer, stand mixer, whatever, this is what you want it to look like. It may not look the most appetizing, but trust me, it's gonna work. All right, this next part we are doing is we are melting butter and sugar together. You can blend it in a mixer beforehand if you would like. I've just always done it this way. It's totally up to you, but we are gonna do that now. And I got the largest saucepan I could because this does require 16 tablespoons of butter. And so when you double that, that's 32, so that's a lot. So got the biggest pot you can find. So fun fact, while I'm filling this, telling you about this recipe, I actually did not have a homemade brownie recipe for a very long time. I just could never find one I liked. And over the summer for Memorial Day, we were gonna have our local church missionaries over and for dinner. And I asked them, I said, well, what's a dessert that you guys really want? And one of them was about to go home and he said, I have not had a good fudge brownie my entire mission, which is 2 years. And so I was like, challenge accepted. So I took on the challenge of finding the best and making the best fudge brownies he ever tasted, and it worked. And so I decided to make it for more people. I made it for a good family friend and he absolutely loved them. I took these to a friend's house, one of my best friend's house, and they loved them, and her mom asked me to bring them for the luncheon on Sunday for this. So these are probably one of my most popular recipes. Besides anything chocolate I make is usually pretty popular, and you can just see I'm just moving it around. So yeah, just keep stirring it. Make sure it is not burnt. Burnt butter never tastes good. If you want to brown it a little bit, that always tastes good, in my opinion. All right, at this point, they're about halfway melted, so I'm gonna start adding the sugar. This recipe requires a lot of sugar. It may shock you at first, but don't be surprised. You are gonna need 4.5 cups of sugar. Yes, sounds like a lot, but if you're making this just for one recipe, instead of doubling it like I am, you are just doing 2¼ cup. Make sure you level out that sugar. You want that, because otherwise you will not have the exact measurement, and that is not what you want. Liquid and dry measuring cups are different from each other, so please don't use one for the other, especially if you want to get an exact measurement with your dry ingredients. My 2 cups. I still need 2 more. Last full cup. All right, and then you are going to move on to your 1/2 cup that you are going to need. There you go. Put that in. You can see like it doubled in size just from adding that sugar. And you want to mix this so it does not burn. You want to make sure you scrape down your sides and make sure it's not sticking to the bottom by like scraping the bottom kind of thing. So that is, if some is starting to burn, you catch it before it does burn. This is now done. All the butter is melted. You can see it just slides right off that. It's exactly what you want. All right, now we're going to add this to our dry ingredients. All right, we are back to our original base. This is why I said it was okay for it to look like this. You are adding this to this. So slowly pour it in. And if you have a stand mixer, you can pour this in while mixing it. I don't recommend that though, because I always worry about hot butter or sugar splashing on people, even if it's just by myself in the kitchen. But that's how I did it right. There was no sugar or butter stained on the bottom. We are gonna mix this now. All right, and before we move into putting the flour and the chocolate chips in, I'm gonna give it one good scrape down, because you can see all the cocoa powder and stuff that flew up. We want that still in there, because that will throw off your ratio. I'm just gonna do one quick scrape down. And also I'm gonna make sure nothing is stuck at the bottom. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna give it one last good mix with this. Best part about making brownies is licking the spoon. But I won't do that on camera, because that's gross. One last good mix. Get some of that cocoa powder off of there. All right. Since I am doubling this recipe, I am needing 3 cups of flour. If you are not doubling the recipe, you will need 1½ cups. Just like that. That's how you want it to look. Perfect flat top. So I'm gonna mix, and I added 1 cup. This just makes it easier on you, so you don't have a bunch of flour flying around. All right. Yes, that's not fully mixed in. It is okay, since I am still adding my flour to it. All right. Add that in. Give it another good little mix. All right. So as you can tell by this point, it is getting a little too thick for this to handle. So I'm gonna switch out from my rubber spatula that I scraped it down earlier with, and then we are going to add chocolate chips and the rest of the flour. It is times like these I wish I had a stand mixer more than anything in the world. We're gonna add our last cup of flour in. Get all of that flour in. And mix. All right. So I know, but I'm gonna add my chocolate chips in now. If I'm just doing one batch, I just do 1 bag, but if I'm doing 2, I will add 2. Because what's the fun in not having chocolate chips in brownies? I think they make them better, but that's just me. So. And now the fun part of making sure it's all mixed together. Finish stirring that. It looks so good. All right, let's go put these in the pans and get them in the oven. All right, these are my pans. As you can see, I already sprayed them. You want them to be sprayed really good so they do not stick. I cannot preference that enough in every video I make. Put it over just like that, and add about half the batter to it. There we go. Some people would have made this once and then remade it again, but I just find it easier to do it this way and then kind of guesstimate. All right, I know I still have a little extra batter, but I am going to, oh my gosh, I dropped some on the stove. I will pick that up in just a second. I'm going to spread it out just to make sure. Right now we have a pretty even amount, so that way I can divide the rest between the two fairly evenly. So they're about the same, so I'm gonna add about half to each. So, got all the batter out. Go ahead and take the rest and just kind of smooth it out. You want the whole pan to be filled. No loose spots. You don't want one side bigger than the other, because that will mess up how your brownies turn out. All right, and they're both about even. I'm gonna throw them in the oven. They're gonna be there for about 28 to 32 minutes. Always start low and go up higher. You can always cook something more. You can't unburn something. All right, I have my oven preheating already. Your oven's supposed to be preheated at 350. All right, set my timer here. And I'll see you guys back when they are ready to be cooled. All right, they are done. They are completely cooled. It did take longer for them to bake this time. I'm not sure why. My oven's been acting up kind of funny, but we are gonna make some chocolate frosting to go on top of them. And to me, that makes it the best brownie ever. So we are gonna get into that, and then they'll be finished and they'll be ready for the luncheon. All right, so now we are making the chocolate frosting. You're gonna wanna start out with, since I'm doubling it, I'm doing 1 cup of melted butter. If you are only doing regular, it is half a cup. Just pour that in our bowl here. And then you are gonna need 1 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. This does not require a certain brand either. You can use whatever brand you would like. Honestly, if you are poor like me, I always recommend going with the cheapest option. But you know what? It's totally up to you. If you like a different flavor of cocoa powder, totally up to you. So you got that all good and ready to go. You are gonna take your hand mixer or your stand mixer. You need the whisk attachment for this, and you are gonna mix this together. All right, so that is how you want it to look. You still have to add the powdered sugar and the milk. So since I am doing double recipe, I am going to have to put 6 cups of powdered sugar in. If you were doing this recipe regular, it would be 3 cups. Yes, frosting does require a lot of powdered sugar, so always prepare to get more than you planned. So there's 1 cup. So it says alternatively add milk and powdered sugar. So I'm gonna add a little bit of my milk. You're gonna need 2/3 cup. Let's mix it. I'm gonna add about 4 tablespoons, I think, just to start out with, because I still have another 3 cups to go with my powdered sugar. Get another cup of powdered sugar. All right. All right, that is what you want your frosting to look like. As you can see, it's very light and airy and also looks delicious. So I am gonna go take this over and I will show you how we frost these brownies. All right, as you can see, we are back with the gorgeous brownies, and they look absolutely delicious. They are cool enough now where we can put the frosting on them and it won't melt. Typically with these brownies, I like to make them day before so that way they cool, but they still taste great next day. So don't stress, I have to make it day of. No, you don't. Let's add some delicious frosting in. All right, that's about half. I'm gonna do kind of the same thing I did when I put the brownies in the pans, which is make sure each one of them has enough. Scrape your sides. So yeah, don't worry about it being like looking professional with brownies, because as long as it has a smooth top with the frosting, you're fine. Kind of make it look nice. Make it look smooth. Don't just glop it on there. Make it look like, because obviously I am not a professional baker by any means. I just love to bake and I've done it for so long. So, all right, they're done and they look fantastic. I'm so happy I got to do this. I am gonna get Abby's reaction on Sunday when she tries them, and I'm so excited to see it. She's had these before, but she won't get them for like 18 months, so I feel like she's gonna have a pretty good reaction, but we'll see.